Hey everyone, today we are diving into something called Computerized System Validation, or CSV for short. Now I know that sounds super technical, but it's a really crucial process in industries like pharmaceuticals, and honestly, the ideas behind it are pretty fascinating for anyone who cares about how we make our technology safe and reliable.
So let's just jump right in with a pretty serious thought. Imagine the software that's in charge of making a life-saving drug. What would happen if it made a tiny miscalculation in a dose? Or maybe it just failed to record a critical quality check. The consequences could be absolutely devastating. This isn't just some tech glitch we're talking about, it's a direct threat to people's safety.
And that's exactly why these industries don't just, cross their fingers and hope for the best. They rely on a formal, super rigorous process to stop these failures before they can ever happen. That process is called Computerized System Validation, and you can think of it as the safety net that protects all of us.
So what exactly is this digital safety net? Let's break down what it really means.
Okay, so here's the textbook definition. At its heart, CSV is all about proving, and I mean really proving, that a system does exactly what it's supposed to do. The two big keywords here are verifying and, maybe even more importantly, documenting. See, it's not enough for the system to just work. You have to create this whole documented trail of evidence that proves it works, that it meets its very specific goals, and that it follows all the rules set by regulators like the FDA.
And if you want to cut through all the jargon, this is what it really boils down to. This is the simple, powerful promise behind all of CSV, proving without a shadow of a doubt that a system is going to do its job right and do it consistently every single time.
All right, so this all sounds pretty important, right? But does it apply to every single piece of software out there? Well, not exactly. Let's take a look at which systems really fall under this kind of intense scrutiny.
The rule of thumb is actually pretty simple. If a computer system can, in any way, impact the quality of the product, the safety of a patient, or the integrity of the data, it absolutely needs to be validated. So we're talking about the software that runs lab tests, the big systems that control all the machinery on a factory floor, and even those massive ERP systems that manage the entire supply chain from start to finish.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, hold on, isn't this just testing? And that's a totally fair question. But there's a really fundamental difference here. A simple check just doesn't cut it when the stakes are this high.
Here it is, the key difference. Simple testing asks a very small question, like, does this button work when I click it? System validation, on the other hand, asks a much bigger question. Is this entire system fit for its incredibly high-stakes purpose? And can we prove it's going to operate safely and reliably, not just today, but for years to come?
I think the best way to really get your head around this is with an analogy. Think about building a bridge. You wouldn't just check if the bolts are tight at the very end and call it a day, right? No way. You'd have this comprehensive process from the first blueprint to the final inspection. CSIV is exactly like that. It's a full life cycle approach.
Let's stick with our bridge analogy, because it works perfectly. First, you've got your planning. That's the architectural blueprint. Then you've got risk assessment. That's like testing the design against earthquakes and high winds. Next up is testing, which is like stress testing all the steel and concrete. Then comes the documentation, the official, permanent record of every single decision made. And finally, maintenance. A bridge gets ongoing inspections for its entire life, and so does a validated computer system.
So, after going through all that work, what's the final proof? What's the big payoff? Why is this incredibly meticulous process just completely non-negotiable? Well, it all comes right back to that question we started with. It ensures patient safety, which is always number one. It guarantees that the data being used to make these critical decisions is accurate and can be trusted. It makes sure you're meeting the strict laws of regulatory bodies, and at the end of the day, it prevents catastrophic system failures and all the enormous risks that come with them.
So if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this right here. Computerized system validation is, simply put, the documented proof that a system is fit for the specific, important job it was designed to do. That's it.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Whether you're in pharma, or finance, or aviation, or really any other field, think about it. What's the documented proof that the critical systems you rely on every day are truly reliable? What's your version of that bridge building process? Thanks so much for tuning in.